Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole Scrapbooks, and I'm back with another project recipe tutorial of a project recipe that I designed for Creative Memories. This one using the Winter Bliss collection, and I apologize that this video is coming a little bit late. I know that the collection came out earlier in November, but it came in with the Black Friday stuff, and it arrived the day that I left for Disney World. So I'm a little bit late with this, but hopefully if you haven't done it yet, you'll still have an opportunity to create it. So this is the original that I created for Creative Memories, and we're going to redo it together, and I'm going to use some different papers just to show you how that works. So I will link in the comments to my website where you can download the directions, the PDF handout. I don't post directions to all of the project recipes there on my website, because they are the intellectual property of Creative Memories, and I'm not exactly sure what the rules are, but the ones that I created, I feel like that's probably okay. And we are going to make one change to the project recipe, just because there's something that I wanted to do that Creative Memories wouldn't let me do, just because of the guidelines of the project recipe. So that part is optional, but you're going to want to follow along. And what you need for this project recipe is you're going to need 3 sheets of designer paper, 1 sheet of bright white solid cardstock, and 1 sheet of baby blue cardstock. So you can see for this one, I used the kind of the sweater print, and then I used this one with the windows, and this one with the blue hearts on the stripes. And for the one we're going to do together, I'm still going to use the blue and the white cardstock, but we're going to use this. This is the back of the window, actually. The blue squares. We're going to use the snowflakes, and we're going to use the stripe, okay? But you can use whichever you want. You want to choose something. I kind of liked having something right here for this main kind of focal point. That is kind of the statement piece. Your busiest pattern, because you're going to cover up most of that with photo mats. And then, of course, whichever we want the back. So I'm going to use the stripe, I think, for this middle section. And we use both sides, and I think I'll use this. Now it's got the plaid. I don't think I like the plaid. I think we'll use this for our background page, and then we'll use this one. So we will have some of the windows again, front and back, and then of course these 2 pieces. So this is going to be my designer paper 1, and when you look at the cutting guide, you're going to punch the border. And then with the remaining piece, you're going to trim it to 9 3/4 by 6. So we'll do that first using our border maker system and the Winter Boots border maker cartridge. And be sure when you cut this to pay attention to the direction that the boots are going to go. I like my boots to go this way, you know, marching forward. And so I don't want to cut on this is going to be the front. I'm going to flip my paper over. I'm going to cut on the back, so that I have my boots going in the direction that I want them to go. All right, we're just going to punch that twice. And this does detach. You don't have to trim it after you punch. It's I guess it's technically what we call a chain border, even though to me it doesn't look like a chain. It's one that looks like it should have been an edge punch, but it detaches. All right, so I'm going to have my 2 borders, and then this piece is about 9 3/4, but it's not exactly 9 3/4, just because of variations. And in case you don't punch straight and you have a little bit crooked, I did want to give a little grace that you can trim that down and even it out. So I'm now going to cut this to 9 3/4. Which, as you can see, is almost exactly. It's about 1/8 of an inch off to get to that 9 3/4. And then I'm going to turn and cut this at 6 inches. All right, so this is going to be the pieces that go on the front, and then we'll have these little boots going along the bottom. So that's designer paper 1. Now designer paper 2 is this one, and we need to cut a 1 1/2 inch, and it's going to be a vertical stripe. So I'm going to pay attention to the pattern. We're not going to see a lot of this side. We're going to see a little bit of it, but a 1/2 inch cut. And then we do a 4 by 12. And a 4 by 9 3/4. And that's why I had you trim this rather than just leave this, because we're going to put this piece, I think, next to it. And you want it to be the exact same height. So 9 3/4. And then your last piece, this should be 3.5 inches already. And we're going to cut it at 3.5 and 3.5. And then this last piece should be 5 inches. And it is. All right. So that's the end of the cutting of our designer paper. And the last thing we have to cut is our white cardstock. And this is where I'm going to mix it up just a little bit. And you can see in the directions that there is a whole blank piece right here, a scrap. That's because I left it there on purpose, because they wouldn't let me use 2 punches for this. So now I'm going to take the dancing snowflakes. This is completely optional, but if you have the dancing snowflakes, if you got the whole bundle, I'm going to go ahead and punch the dancing snowflakes border punch. That is an addition. It is not printed on the directions. And I'm using the bright white cardstock. And the bright white is feels a little thicker. I'm going to have it a little, be a little extra force to punch through this. And of course my angle's a little bit funny because I'm sitting down. All right, so that's the extra piece that is not listed on your cutting guide, but you've got this little piece where that's going to fit to punch off that extra dancing snowflakes border. If you have the border stickers for this, you may not need to do that. This looks cute if you can add the border stickers, but I like to be able to do stuff without stickers. So now I'm going to follow the rest of the directions exactly. We're going to cut 2 strips that are, and this is the edge I punched on, so it's not perfectly straight. I can see there's a little crooked, so I'm going to punch from the good side. We're going to cut 2 strips that are 3/4 of an inch. And then we're going to cut 4 1/4. And 4 1/4. And we're still going to have a little bit left of this paper. So that's my extra piece, and that had the little bit of a jagged edge. All right, so the first one we're going to cut at 5 1/2. The very edge of the trimmer right here is your 5 1/2 inch line. And same with this other piece. And then the last, these little scraps, we're going to make a banner with. And I liked the look of them being kind of a skinnier banner, but I did see it where someone just left the banners this width, and that's completely up to you. But I'm going to cut this just in half. And one of them about 4 1/4, that's already 4 1/4, and one of them about 3 1/4. All right. So those are all our pieces. These 2 are scraps now, and that extra piece we took off. And then all the rest is assembly. Okay, so now I'm going to take my base pieces. We're going to use the designer print paper, and you could use either side, but because this one does have the green in it, I feel like that's going to dominate. So I'm going to use this little snowflake paper on the left and the blue on the right. And we're going to start by taking these 2 3/4 inch strips. I told you we'd done all the cutting. We haven't quite done all the cutting. And our repositionable tape runner. And what we want to do is put this behind, just so that the little boot print design stands out. So I have a little silicone mat. And I'm just going to put a little repositionable adhesive. You could put it on either piece, but I find that putting it on this piece gives me less that I have to rub off afterwards. And then you want to make sure, actually let me zoom down a little bit. You guys know I love to zoom down. And you just want to make sure that where you put this on, you're covering up the bottom of the boot, but you're not coming down into that little wave. So you've got a little leeway. You just kind of have to line it up right with this little swell edge as best you can. Okay, so there's my poking out a little bit right there. But that's kind of the idea, that this will cover up right to that edge of that swell without poking out too much down there at the bottom. We'll do the next one exactly the same way. I'm just putting it in this middle section in between the boots. Right there along that little curved edge. Okay, and then one of them you want to take, and we'll zoom back out, and you want to cut this. I actually don't think I wrote that in the directions, but you want to cut this at 4 inches. I don't know where it said it in the directions. They changed my directions a little bit. Oh yeah, trim combined piece BL at 8 inches and save both halves. So I'm not going to cut it at 8 inches. I'm going to cut it 4 inches so I don't have to fold out my arm. All right, now we're going to take these two pieces, which are C and D. Actually, you know, well, I already put this boot down. This kind of wouldn't look terrible to have the dark blue, but I want to use the stripe. So we're going to put these two pieces on here. Then we're going to take this piece, and you can use either side. I was going to use the squares, but I think maybe I like the windows. So put the windows there. And the windows here, maybe. Or I could put this here and this strip of windows here. But I think I kind of like the windows. The snow falling out the windows. Then you're going to take the blue boots. You want this down 3/4 of an inch from the top. Sorry. Then they're going to put the blue boots here and here. It's going to overlap your 1/2 inch stripe right there. Oh, this isn't going to work as well on top of the windows, so maybe I will flip this back over. And then we have a photo mat here, and a photo mat here, and a photo mat here. And then I'm going to take this piece, this extra piece, and put it right down in this empty space right there. Actually, I think I like it under the boots. And I always like to, you know, dry fit everything before I stick it down. And these are a little bit not quite standard size mats. You'll have to trim your photo a little bit, but a lot of my photos now are the digital size, and so they're already, you know, 5-inch photos. So we'll put those here, and then we're going to put these two little banners up here in the top. Oops, off the edge, sorry. All right, so let me go ahead and stick all this down, and then we'll come back and we'll cut the banners. I am going to use my Creative Memories 13 by 13 inch cutting mat to help me with my positioning, just to make sure that I get that 3/4 of an inch measurement. And with this stripe, I want to make sure that I have the stripes aligned with each other. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but you can see that this way the stripes line up, whereas if I do it this way, I don't know, there's a disconnect. It doesn't really matter, but it kind of matters to me. So just be aware of that. We'll do the boots. And because we've got this white piece on the back, we don't have to worry about, you know, where the adhesive goes or using the repositionable. And I know there are people that have switched 100% to repositionable. That's great, but I'm not one of them. Okay. I'm just go ahead and do this whole first side. I want to make sure that I have these kind of evenly spaced. And so even though we have this fairly busy stripe pattern, I don't think it's too obnoxious because we're covering so much of it up with photos. And these are photo mats, they're not just photo positioning pieces. So because this is cardstock, it's harder to do where you fold it and trim. So I'm going to cut my banners by just making a little snip in the middle of my piece and then going from the corner to the top of that cut. Kind of position these wherever you like them. All right, now we'll do the other side. And to make sure that these are even, I'm going to position them by using the facing page rather than using the mat, just because my measurements aren't always spot on. I do like this paper. You know, I live in Alabama, so we don't really get a lot of snow. When we do get snow, we definitely take pictures of it. But my favorite way to see snow is from in the house, outside the window. I don't like the cold. All right, so there's this one. And here's that extra step that is not in the official direction. So completely optional, but I think it adds a lot. And I wish that they would have let me use 2 tools instead of just the one. So maybe when I post this on YouTube, I need to say, you know, Winter Bliss project recipe with a bonus step or something. Yeah, I like that covering up the snowflake right there. And then we'll put our other two mats. And it is cardstock, and yes, I did just flip it over to put the adhesive on the back, which is silly, but I do it anyway. think I'm going to try and line this up with the that edge, just because it's this pattern. I feel like it'll look a little bit better if I can line up the windows. Doesn't really work as well down here though, does it? Oh well. You do have this one other little piece. If you wanted to make this like as another little photo mat down here, you could. I don't really know what else you could use it for. A journal box maybe. And then you can embellish with stickers. I think when you use both punches, it doesn't need a lot more embellishment. But of course you could put a title up here. You could have this space down here for journaling. But I think this was a fun paper pack to work with. I'm crossing my fingers. We've had the Arctic blast, if you can see my little air quotes, Arctic blast last week down here in Alabama, where we got down very cold for us at this early in the year. And I'm hoping they're saying we might have a little snowfall this winter. So I'm hoping for that, and not an ice storm, because we've had those aren't as fun. But Winter Bliss project recipe, I had a lot of fun designing it, and I hope that you will have fun creating it. And I would love to see, especially if you do it with a different paper pack. I think there are a lot of things you could do. This would be a little bit different as far as how you might do this bottom border, but I think there are a lot of fun ways that you could use this design, and especially with this secret edition, for all sorts of different themes for your scrapbook pages. And I hope that if you do, you will share that with me through Facebook's probably the easiest way, through my Nicole's Scrapbooks Facebook page or my Nicole's Scrapbook Friends Facebook group. All right. I don't know when the next time I will get chosen to do a project recipe will be, but I sure enjoy doing them. And I hope that project recipes are helping you to get your photos into albums and getting completed layouts and completed scrapbook projects. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another layout idea, or maybe even an album flip through one of these days. Thanks a lot, and happy scrapbooking.